tyres. And of course more inters. The strategy could be very unpredictable. Yes, everyone on the intermediate tyres, so I'll get up the position changes as the graphic for the start of the race. It's the important one to look at initially, as we all know that everyone's going to be on intermediates. But yeah, SLR Charlie on pole position, WR Andrew next to him. LSW Legend is already ahead of Andrew on the formation lap, which is interesting. But yeah. And then of course we have Jamie Menz at the back of the field. How is Menz going to manage the back of the field? He has gone off the track. He's trying to warm up his tyres. He's going also off the track again. And he's very much living on the edge in terms of spinning. Have you tried spinning? That's a good trick. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder whether we are going to see the customary men's formation lap spin back in SLR. He said he'd do it. So we're going to see it. A celebration for the return of immersive formation laps. It would be. I think we can all agree a celebration is sorely needed. He's not spun yet. Maybe he's saving it for the final corner. Let's see how many people get disqualified from the formation lap. Here we had quite a few people not being able to set their grid spots correctly. As I'm now looking at Menz, he's going to be the last person on the grid. How many people are going to be setting them correctly this time? There we are, Menz half spins. Bad Otter has disqualified himself. Only Bad Otter... Oh, and CSC Morris as well. Where's Menz going to position his car? He positions it pretty perfectly. And yeah, lights counting down now. Lights went out very, very quickly. And it's once again delay at the start, and lights out, and we are away. Looks like Charlie's got a pretty good start off the front. What about Andrew? Is he going to have a go into turn one? He is. Andrew takes the lead from SLR Charlie. Bad Otter sends it up the inside. He makes a bit of contact with Charlie, and Charlie's already down 2 positions off the start. Gainers at the back, Active GMC's gained 5 positions, as Charlie's really struggling in his intermediate conditions initially. Very, very tricky these are, as Legend is trying to poke his car up the inside of Charlie, as Morgan's gained a place off the line as well. Good start from Morgan, trying to recover, because we know he has the pace, and let's see if he can show it in the race. He's usually quite quick in the rain, so we'll have to wait and see. But what a start from WR Andrew F1, that leads the race here. Further down the field, it is really just the story of the gain of Active GMC, although he's lost it and he's hit his wing. He has lost his wing already. And I don't know what exactly happened with him. It looked like he just completely turned in front of ARL Predators on the straight, which would not be ideal, but yeah, Active GMC has a moment there on the straight, and potentially that's going to be one for stewards. Further down the field we have Sotia Clock getting past SLR Jack, and Jamie Menz going past SLR Jack as well. Does Jack have damage, or is Menz just trying an absolute kamikaze move in the chicane? It might just be a bit of both, because Menz has gained 7 positions here off the line. He's absolutely flying, is Jamie Menz. He's already in the points here. As near the front of the field, WR Andrew and Bad Otter have gapped P3 already. Although Bad Otter understeers so much in the final corner, he nearly hits the wall there. As Jamie Menz absolutely sending it on Sotia Clock. They make a bit of contact. Oh, it's behind them. That is SLR Jack has had a moment. And there's a driver without a wing. That's GMC. It is absolute carnage near the back. ARL Predators has also gone into the pits, presumably because he got wing damage with Active GMC's issue. Apparently Jamie Menz has damage. despite his start. So it's going to have a few issues. But yeah, front of the field it's WR Andrew, followed by Bad Otter, followed by LSW Legend. And we've got a bit of field spread already at the front. With the top two looking very strong in these wet weather conditions, especially WR Andrew. Absolutely flying at the moment. The question is now for these drivers is who can make the fewest mistakes. It's going to be very, very tough to keep it on a straight, in a straight line on access to some of these corners. And one little mistake in the wet and you are gone on this game. As I can see, Charlie struggling quite a lot at the moment. Although he's closed up quite a bit to Legend there actually, so maybe he does have some pretty decent pace in the end, Charlie. He's maybe just taking a couple of laps to bed himself in. Of course, down 3 positions from his qualifying position is Charlie, so he's going to have a little bit of work cut out for him if he wants to get a high-up result. Although at the moment, 4th is still, of course, a very strong finishing position. So now looking here, and WR Andrew sets the fastest lap of the race at 140.4. SW Legend losing 4 tenths to that. And Andrew is the fastest man on track. Bad Otter is closing in a bit on him though, so I think we could have a pretty solid race here at the front of Miami. As Adrian's found his way past Golden Egg Fryer. Golden Egg Fryer must have had a moment at the final corner there. Struggling at the moment in these intermediate conditions is Golden Egg Fryer. And further ahead of them, SLR Mash has gained a lot of time. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. Who is that? Oh, that is Golden Egg Fryer. He is spun around and has he got damage? I don't know. But he's off anyway. Aerial Predators is also in the pits, so picked up yet more damage on lap 2 in these wet weather conditions. But yeah, unfortunate mistake that by Golden Egg Fryer, and that just shows how easy it is to lose it in the wet weather conditions. And look at here, someone who I'm sure would have a decent bit more pace if he was in clean air would be SLR Morgan. So I'm thinking Morgan potentially at some point, if you can get close to Charlie, can he try to move on him? Morgan, I can see, loses quite a lot of time on the straight, so definitely has a more wet weather inclined setup. But then gains a lot of time through the corners in sector 1, so interesting that drivers have gone different directions in setup. You're now properly seeing that come into play in the race here. Charlie's lost quite a lot of time to LSW Legend there. It's further behind, and McLaughlin has got pretty good pace at the moment. Slalea gained a position, McLaughlin lost a couple off the start as Golden Egg Fryer has lost it at the final corner again. But yeah, and McLaughlin's going to try and gain back those positions that he lost at the start of the race. The first one of those is SLR Leah's P6 at the moment. Although it's not close enough at this current stage. It's further at the front. Kind of the times are kind of just evened out really. Andrew is pretty confident and comfortable here in P1 it looks like. The Bad Otter does have his moments where he does gain quite a bit on the Alpine driver. As the yellow flag is set to 1, and Active JMC is out. Active JMC has crashed. Is that going to be out of safety car? It is! So we have our first safety car of this race. And that one was caused by Active JMC binning it. The end of sector 1. Anyone going to choose this moment to come into the pits? I don't think so. Everyone's going to just stay out. The enters aren't too warm, so there's no massive reason to pit unless you have damage, of course. Well, obviously, if you're near the back, getting a fresh set of enters might be valuable, so That's why we're seeing Moley and Clock coming into the pits. Unless it is to repair damage as well. Nope, nope, Clock is repairing damage. And Moley's is solely a strategy decision. Moley did not change his wing, but Clock did. That explains Clock's struggles on the first lap. But yeah, Active JMC out of this race already. Our first retiree, and most certainly will not be our last. As Aero Predators comes into the pits for what I think is a second time on a lap 4. So, third time I should say actually. Pitting from inters to more inters. And yeah, he's going to stay on the lead lap here, so he's going to be back in this race as Predators, so still in a pretty good position. As yeah, this safety car kind of really undoes all the hard work that Andrew put in the first couple of laps, actually. Because Andrew was in a really comfortable position because of that excellent start and because of Bad Otter's mistake. So yeah, with the field all bunched back up again. Oh, Jack's got a penalty for collision with Menz. Goodness. And he had an illegal overtake on Mash and Adrian, and I don't know what's going on there. Jack has got a 5-second penalty and has no wing. So that's very bizarre. Mash has no wing either. Adrian's got some of a wing. So what on earth has gone on there? 3 more people coming into the pits. And suddenly Moley is, despite pitting himself, gained the position. That's very confusing. They're of course not really going to lose that much from that because they all are going to be able to catch back up anyway, although Golden Egg Fryer is having to serve the double stack behind his teammate. So maybe not Golden Egg Fryer might struggle to catch back up, but all of the others definitely will. And yeah, not really any massive net loss for these drivers. As Aero Predators, is he deliberately trying to come out last still, maybe? I don't know. Does he have some kind of bodywork damage that he wants to avoid other drivers from, and so he's making sure he stays last to avoid the carnage? Or maybe he had a delta. He had to stay 2, which meant that he couldn't come out ahead of Golden Egg Fry. I don't know, but yeah, looking at the gap, yeah, 20 seconds, I think actually they will all make that back up quite comfortably by the time the safety car comes back in. I think it'll come back in at the end of the next lap, because it got to point on lap 4, I think it was. And yeah, it should come in at the lap 7, and all these drivers will be able to get back going and continue this race on the next lap. So 6 laps gone, and yeah, general story of this race so far is we are Andrew gaining that position off the line to SLR Charlie. SLR Charlie having a bit of a shocking start, really, losing 3 positions. SW Legend and CSC Morris are the only 2 drivers who have not changed their position from the start of the race, with the big gainer, of course, being JD Menz starting from last position, yet finds his way all the way up into P9 and in the points. Which is a very, very impressive first couple of laps for the Ferrari driver. And yeah, of course we have one retiree of this race so far, and that is Active JMC. Active JMC lost it at the start of Sector 2. Very, very easy to do. And that was it. He was out of the race. He lost it in a similar spot there in lap 1, which caused a couple of drivers to get damage behind him, so they could not avoid his car. And yeah, that is what happened. Safety car should be coming in at the end of this lap. Yeah, safety car should be coming in at the end of this lap, and we should be getting going. And who's going to have a good restart here? WR Andrew. He's going to have to pick and choose where he goes. If he goes too aggressive on the throttle, then potentially he could find himself backwards, and all of a sudden we'll have a different leader. So he's got to be very, very careful here, does WR Andrew, to avoid causing any carnage himself from potential spins and whatnot. As a safety car, yes, the safety car is now in at the end of this lap. Bad Otter is now. Bad Otter and WR Andrew are now starting to warm up their tyres. And yeah, when is Andrew going to go? He's going very, very slowly at the moment on this safety car restart. Just thinking and thinking. When am I going to go? When am I going to put the burners on and try and catch P2 napping? It looks like he's gone now before the exit of the final corner. And yes, WR Andrew is away. And LSW Legend has most definitely been caught napping here, as Bad Otter and WR Andrew restore their lead. Andrew's going very defensive into turn 1 though. He feels a bit threatened by Bad Otter, and potentially he's going to compromise him for the next couple of corners. Bad Otter having a little bit of a look there, and further behind, Morgan having a little bit of a look on Charlie. They're going side by side here, Charlie and Morgan. Who's going to be bravest? Who's going to be trying to hold it in there the most? Looks like at the moment it is SLR Morgan, but Charlie's going to have a decent run on him. Trying to switch back is Charlie, but he cannot keep that position, and Morgan moves up into P4. Very crucial move from Morgan. As Bad Otter, actually, I missed that completely. Bad Otter did take the lead off WR Andrew. Andrew going super defensive into turn 1, perhaps rather unnecessarily, lost Andrew the lead. So we have a new race leader, and it is Bad Otter. And that is very, very interesting here, as WR Andrew, yeah, he was controlling things before the restart, so definitely has a decent amount of pace, but unfortunately for him, he has lost that lead on the restart. So he's going to be looking as best he can to try and claw that back. Behind them, I also expect SLR Morgan to have some pretty decent pace in these wet weather conditions, and is going to be trying to charge his way forward into the podium places. Well, he loses a lot of time at the final corner there, does SLR Morgan. As Yellow Flag set to 3. Oh, that is Golden Egg Fryer. He has hit the wall and yeah, having an absolute torrid time of it in these intermediate conditions. Really struggling. And is now back down in plumb last after that spin. Oh, towards the front, the top 3 are reasonably locked together here, so could be either one of them who ends up winning this race. They all have very, very solid pace. Morgan in P4 behind them is not going in the way that I thought he would, so... And also, furthermore on that, Legend is beginning to drop back as well. But at the moment there's not yet any wheel-to-wheel action for these higher up positions yet. We had a bit on the safety car restart, but now the restart's happened, obviously no DRS, it's very, very difficult for any moves to take place. As Bad Otter sets the fastest lap of the race, taking Andrew's fastest lap from the lap 1 after the lap 2, I should say. Yeah, now Bad Otter is gaining a bit on WR Andrew. He has got the gap up to 8/10. And maybe even threatening to get it over a second. So he's got some really good pace here, does Bad Otter. The midfield, SLR Moley has not had the gains on his new tyres that he would hope that he would have. As being hounded by SLR, by Sotia Clock. And Sotia Clock now has a bit of a run on SLR Moley. Taking into the slipstream. Which way is he going to go? Dumping all of his ERS. Up the inside of Moley goes SLR Clock. Or Sotia Clock, I should say. Down the inside, and yeah, he's made it pretty easy as Moley. And Clock moves up into the top 10. So without that... Yeah, so without that front wing damage that Clock had at the beginning of the race, it's got some very solid pace here. As Morgan ahead of Charlie has gone really, really deep. Could that allow Charlie to maybe make a move back past Morgan? That's another fastest lap of the race, showing how good his pace is. Charlie loses a lot of time to Morgan there on the start-finish. But further back, McLaughlin not too far off Leah. And Morgan's formed a little bit of a train here. So struggling quite a bit relative to the top 3 is SLR Morgan. Legend is kind of just about staying in there. And WR Andrew is also decently staying with Bad Otter. Although it looks like Bad Otter's got a lot better straight line speed than Andrew. So maybe that's why Bad Otter is staying ahead at the moment. So these two, definitely the quickest 2 drivers in the field, and they find themselves 1 and 2. Bad Otter has a little bit of a wobble there though, so this is going to invite WR Andrew to close right up. Towards the back of the field, Adrian loses the place to Predators as Jack picks up his first penalty of the race. First penalty of the race that we have seen so far that is a penalty for track limits. Jack is the first to get it, so yeah. Jack, unfortunately, really, really struggling here in this Miami Grand Prix. Down in P13. As for the battle for P1, yeah, it's been brewing for a few laps here, but yeah, WR Andrew just can't quite get close enough. He set the fastest lap of the race, but yeah, it is so difficult to overtake here. The issue is that you get a massive waft of dirty air before you reach any meaningful overtaking zone here, so you can kind of mitigate that with DRS, of course, if it's dry, but with it being wet, there's no DRS allowed, and so that reduces the F1 driver's main overtaking tool. You know, dirty air has been a main talking point of modern F1. Charlie's lost it. And Legend's retired as well. Legend has crashed on his own. Charlie has lost it. We have a safety car. So what's happened there? Legend was very, very comfortable. But suddenly, he has completely binned it. And we have a safety car. So what do these drivers do here now? If it's supposed to dry up at the end of the race, they try and stay out? Did they try and stay out anyway? Because maybe they can do the entire race on one set of inters? Are you going to see a bit of a differing strategies here? What is going to happen? The drivers who already pitted potentially going to have a lot nicer intermediate tyres. I don't really have a clue what the wear's like on inters, but might be able to go to the end of the race on one set of inters, especially with these safety cars. But yeah, very, very interesting stuff. LSW Legend from podium position has crashed. So yeah, what are these drivers going to do? Looks like Bad Otter and WR Andrew are coming into the pits from P1 and P2. But the others behind them are not following them. Now this is spicy. JD Benz also comes into the pits. A lot of other drivers are staying out as well, so wow. Bad Otter and WR Andrew electing to come into the pits and change tyres onto a new set of intermediates have found themselves slap bang in the middle of this field, and all of a sudden they've got some overtaking to do. They've been comfortably the quickest two drivers, as I've said multiple times, but yeah, they're going to have to show that they are quick enough to make some overtakes here, as they are well down. And who has made the right strategy call here? Is it the likes of Morgan, Leah McLaughlin, Charlie Morris, who of course have this track position? Charlie, of course, with that track position would be absolutely kicking himself, as he would have been in P2 without that spin, but is now sitting in P4. So he's lost a couple of places from that, but yeah, like, who is going to be in the best position? Who's made the right strategy call? What is tyre wear like on the intermediate tyres at Miami? All these questions that we are going to be sure to have answered towards the end of this race, but wow, what a spanner in the works that safety car has thrown. Bad Otter down in P9, so yeah, I mean, if it is the wrong decision for him to come into the pits, as Adrian and Golden Egg Fryer come into the pits as well, yeah, if it's the wrong decision for Bad Otter to come into the pits, has he potentially just thrown away a win here? Or are these other drivers going to be a bit tight on their tyres by the end of the race? Only time will tell. But yeah, now, suddenly, SLR Morgan finds his way into P1. He's not shown amazing pace at the moment so far in this race. But potentially, now he's got that confidence because he is in P1. Potentially, from that, we could see SLR Morgan potentially show a bit more pace than he has shown before in this race, and use that to seal a race victory. Or maybe he will get a puncture. We don't know. All I know is, though, is that this race suddenly has got a lot better. What was looking as kind of a fairly boring race with the quickest drivers at the front, now all of a sudden has the quickest drivers in the midfield. Which is why Division 2 is always incredibly unpredictable and always very, very enjoyable to watch. A safety car is now in at the end of this lap. So who is going to get the best restart here? SLR Morgan. SLR Morgan is going to be the driver taking them away. How is he at safety car restarts? We're about to find out. Morgan has gone now. And Mash and Bad Otter have already swapped positions already before the safety car has come in. And Bad Otter already trying to make the position as SLR Jack has crashed. SLR Jack has crashed on the straight, on the start-finish straight, before we've even reached turn 1 after the safety car. So that's another driver who is out of this race. Wow, that is It's not good for Jack at all. But at the front of the field, it is SLR Morgan, who is your race leader, and he's beginning to form a bit of a gap over SLR Leah in P2, who's running a very, very strong race for the Aston Martin team. It's further behind, we have JD Menz has made a move on Aero Predators. Preds is tucking in the slipstream, but he's not going to be able to keep the position. As now WR Andrews looking to pass SLR Mash here for P9. Down the inside goes WR Andrew. Mash does not fight that. He knows that the Alpine will have a lot more pace than him. He's just choosing to keep things consistent. There's now Bad Otter looking to maybe dive it up the inside of SLR Moley. Is he going to try it here? Yes, he is. He's a little bit cautious about thinking about whether to try it. But he's given a lot of room on Moley on exit and makes the move stick as Bad Otter. Great move. Over to P7. So he has shown a very, very good pace here and is making his way through the field very nicely. Towards the front of the field now. And then McLaughlin is the one putting pressure on SLR Leah, so it's now slightly a clock from P6 has picked up a time penalty, so there's not good news for him. He is going to have to gap the drivers around him if he wants to still score a World Championship point or two. So WR Andrew thought he was going to send it on Moley for a second there, but no, he's being patient at the moment. There's just one car separating him and Bad Otter, so he knows he doesn't need to rush it too much, does Andrew? As his main rival from the start of the race is not too far ahead of him. But now Andrew, here we are up the inside of Moley, he goes into the final corner. But it is to break later than the Williams driver. And Andrew up into P8. Very nice clean move. Now Bad Otter is all over Sosia Glock. Yeah, really, really wants to make these moves done and fast as Bad Otter sends it down the inside. Clock has to back out of it. Menz now gets past Moley. And all of a sudden now, Menz on the same age tyres as Andrew and Bad Otter is now right behind them, as Leah has lost the position to McLaughlin now. McLaughlin up into P2. But Morgan still has a very comfortable lead, so a very strong position at the moment is SLR Morgan. But yeah, JD Menz, starting from the back of the field, and at the end it hasn't really made much difference for him because he pitted behind Bad Otter and WR Andrew, and to be only 1.4 seconds behind Andrew, even Andrew started on the front row, is music to Menz's ears really. He's recovering from this qualifying ban very, very well for JD Menz. Although as I say that, he makes a bit of a mess of the chicane, nearly hits the wall, gets away with it. So yeah, perhaps not too comfortable as Menz in these conditions. Further up the field, Bad Otter continuing his charge. Now almost a second, now just over a second behind CSC Morris, as now WR Andrew is closed right up to Sosia Clock. Then WR Andrew make his way ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver. It's a crucial move, really, as Bad Otter is going to continue putting cars between him and the Alpine reserve driver if WR Andrew has not made a move. But no, he could not make the move just yet. Although he does seem to have very, very strong straight line speed, does WR Andrew. Maybe running more of a dry incline setup then, even. I don't know. Is he going to send it yet? No, I don't think he's going to try and send it up the inside of clock just yet. Andrew is being patient, biding his time. And yeah, stays behind Sochi Clock now. Although, is he going to maybe try and move it into the final corner? No, he's not using his battery. So he's not looking to try and move there. Although I think if he did use some of his battery, he might have been able to be close enough. So perhaps a little bit of a mistake by Andrew to not use his battery there. Although he has a mega drive out the final corner there. Is this now finally it for WR Andrew? Setting his sights on Sochi Clock up the inside into turn 1. And there we are. Gets the position. Lovely move once again from WR Andrew. And now he can set sail after Bad Otter. He's already getting quite a bit in sector 1, so has the bit between his teeth does WR Andrew. And here we are, closing in on the Haas driver. As he's stuck in SLR Lear's train, it looks like, for P3. As hang on a minute. And McLaughlin suddenly closed right up to SLR Morgan. And this is the battle for the race lead here. As JD Menz gets past Sochi Clock. Absolutely flying through the field at the moment is JD Menz. Oh, as I was speaking about McLaughlin closing up to Morgan, Morgan's made his job a lot easier as Morgan picks up the time penalty. That is absolutely massive for the whole race for the victory. Because if these guys can make the end of the race, and SLR Morgan, with that time penalty, he's going to find himself, check the gap to the leader, he's going to find himself in P3 even. Not even just in P2, as ARL Predators and SLR Mash going side by side. Oh, they make a bit of contact there. That's not ideal. Adrian is then waiting in the wings. Yeah, they're both getting their elbows out a bit. Mash nearly hits Predators on a straight, which would not have been good. But he does manage to avoid him. So now, yeah, going side by side. Trying to put the bit of a squeeze on Mash. So that meant that the Alpha Tauri driver has lost the position. And Golden Egg Fries in all this as well. Adrian chooses not to fight him. Instead waiting for the Alpha Tauri driver to maybe make moves with the cars ahead of him. Because his teammate of Mash has got an awful run there onto the start of the second sector. Is he going to let his teammate go? I think he might. I'm sure we will see. Is Mash lifting off? Yes, he is. It's Golden Egg Fry up into P12. Mash has a time penalty, so chooses not to fight his teammate. He's of course also on those much fresher tyres. And on Bad Otter watch here actually, and Otter's not gained any more places. Although he's now right behind CSC Morris. Is he going to dive it to the inside, Bad Otter? I think he's thinking about it. CSC Morris leaves the door open, lets Bad Otter go into it, and Bad Otter says thank you very much. I will be taking that 5th position. Very, very clean move, and yeah, once again, these guys aren't really fighting too hard on these runners with the newer intermediate tyres. As all, what's this? It has stopped raining. Now this is the part of the race that I mentioned could get quite interesting. And yes, it is indeed stopped raining. So what we have here is a very interesting situation. How long will it take for the rain to the track to fully dry out? You can see these guys are really having to search for the wet patches already. They might even be dry enough for dry tyres already. Although it's going to be absolutely treacherous on those dry tyres. Although, is it one of those races where maybe it stopped raining but it does not become dry enough for dry tyres? We do not know. All we will know is when these drivers come into the pits at the end of this lap, if any of them do, and we will see. And we will see how their pace is if they do choose to put on the dries. But here we are. This is the most interesting phase of this race so far, and one that is definitely going to make or break things for these drivers. What does Morgan do? Morgan stays out. So does everyone else behind him. So there's not yet time for the dry compound tyres. And no one is choosing to risk them either. You can see on the track surface is still very, very greasy. There's not really any spray being kicked up. But the greasiness is going to make things very, very difficult for dry tyres. So I think whilst we are pretty close, it might be a couple of laps out just yet. And of course you have to think, hitting onto a new set of dries, how much are you going to lose? Because with the field as close as it is, field spread 16 seconds from P1 to P14, as Bad Otter picks up a penalty. Now that is crucial given how much pace he had at the early stretches of this race. But yeah, with that field spread, you take that risk, you come out and last. The tyres don't work, you come last. It's as simple as that. So this is a very, very tough decision for these drivers. Smash and Adrian are going side by side, it looks like. And now towards the front, Bad also looking for a move on SLR Charlie, but cannot make the move. WR Andrew, though, gets past CSC Morris, up into P6. That's Golden Egg Fries, that's the fastest lap of the race. So, showing some pace on the track's drying a bit is the AlphaTauri driver. Maybe this is it. Maybe we're going to see some drivers be quicker in these conditions than others, as the track's not really going to be good for dries or inters, really, at this stage of the race. It is probably going to overheat a bit, and the dries are going to be very, very slippery as well. You can see a bit of a dry line forming from the dry tyres, so it's not going to be long at all. As the yellow flag in sector 2, who's that that's lost it? Oh, it's SLR Leah! SLR Leah has had a massive moment. And it's dropped all the way down to P6, so he's had a moment at the chicane, must have. Completely missed that. But yeah, that is disastrous for SLR Leah. He's managed to recover it, but he's all the way down to P6 now when he was on the podium. So that promotes SLR Charlie back up into a podium place. As these drivers are still staying out here on these intermediate tyres. So even though the rain stopped, no one's braving it. Times are coming down, but not enough for dries apparently. It's now Bad Otter trying to make the move on SLR Charlie. Gets his elbows out a bit and makes the move. Which now sets Andrew up to have a go on Charlie. I believe they're going side by side here. Yes, they are. Does Charlie get his elbows at himself? No, he doesn't. So Andrew takes the place. As SLR Mash has gone for it, and now as Andrew's spun! Andrew's spun and he's out! Him and CSC Morris have come together. And they are both out of the race. And a safety car has been deployed. And what do these drivers do here? SLR Mash has decided to take a very, very bold risk and go onto a set of softs here. What about the others? With it being a very, very late safety car, could we see a bit of a split between softs and inters? What an end to this race. What do these drivers do in this late safety car? I think I'd be absolutely scratching my head. SLR Mash, of course, has nothing to lose on those soft compound tyres. He was right near the back of the field anyway with a penalty. What about these other drivers? What tyres would... What tyres are going to be the best choice? Do they stay out for track position? Do they hope that it's not going to dry up enough? Because some people risk staying out even though it's dried up a bit. Morgan has gone into the pits. Charlie's gone into the pits. Leah's gone into the pits. But McLaughlin's staying out, for example. Is McLaughlin going to be the only person who stays out? SLR Modi's going for it. Oh, his clock! Has he crashed into the pits? Oh my word, he has! I can see debris in the pit lane. Where's Clock gone? Did he crash? I don't know. As Leah's jumped Charlie in the pits as well. Interesting. Golden Egg Fries jumped Adrian. As Mash is going back into the pits. He's now going to take another risk and put back on intermediate tyres because he's seen so many people put on softs. But that would be a galaxy brain risk, really. No, he lost his wing on them. That's why. But here we have... Well, what a scenario at the end of this race. We're not going to have very many racing laps. And we have most of the field on softs. But 3 drivers up the front on intermediate tyres. It is not raining. But is it dry enough? Is it dry enough for these dry tyres? Or are the intermediate runners going to be able to hold on? Have they made a bit of a strategy blunder here? Are they going to have to pit anyway? And lose all these places? Suddenly this field is just completely... It's completely flipped on its head, really. And all of a sudden, potentially, SLR Leah is in the pound seat to win this race after he spun. He spun only a couple of laps ago. And yeah, he's... This safety car has really, really shaking things up for him. What do these leaders do? Oh, they are pitting in the end. They are coming into the pits. So they do know that it is enough for dry tyres. It is dry enough, and so now Morgan takes the lead again, and SLR Leah is your effective race leader. Charlie in P3. JD Menz has found his way up into P4. All of a sudden, Golden Egg Fryer. He's had absolutely no luck in the world. He's been absolutely nowhere, and he's found himself into the top 5 here. From making that strategy call onto the softs. But we're going to have a 3-lap shootout here, folks, and oh, what an end to the race this is going to be. SLR Morgan did make the right decision. It must have been such a hard decision for him to make because he was, of course, the lead runner. He was the leader. If he made the wrong choice, then he would have the most to lose. But he's made the right one. You can see now, yeah, it's definitely dry enough for the dry compound tyre. So yeah, that is why they all came into the pits. But McLaughlin, for example, he was the effective race leader because Morgan had a penalty and McLaughlin was in P2. But McLaughlin has now dropped all the way down into P8. So he's going to be absolutely gutted with himself for making that incorrect strategy decision. Because he was right up there and now isn't. He is well down the field. And what is this final few laps going to bring? This is going to be very, very tasty. I think we're only going to get 2 laps at the end here, unless the safety car comes in at a very, very late call. Because I do see that Mash is relatively close to catching up. But I do think we're going to be waiting another lap, to be honest. And yeah, Bad Otter, another one who's made the incorrect call. Bad Otter now all the way down in P10. One who was the race leader, but he made the incorrect call by choosing to pit onto the intermediate tyres for a second set under that second safety car. And under the third safety car, he didn't choose to pit at all. And he has dropped all the way down into P10 after he was leading the race for the most part. Wow, what a mad end to this race this is, and it's not over yet. Because SLR Morgan has that time penalty and is the race leader. He was the man who set the fastest lap in qualifying, so he has some good pace. But Charlie is another one who's pretty quick in qualifying. Charlie is going to be hounding Lear here, and he's going to smell a race victory. The Red Bull driver has had a podium in Bahrain, of course, this season. But after that, his luck kind of ran out, and he's not had any good results at all. But now, all of a sudden, he is staring down a potential race win, as is JD Menz, as I thought someone had binned it there, but no, I think that's just me seeing things. But yeah, safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap. And we will have 2 laps at the end of this race on dry tyres now to decide the race winner. Will SLR Lear be able to hold on? Or will we have SLR Charlie claiming his first race victory of the Division 2 season? Or will Championship leader JD Menz somehow manage to win this race? That'd be quite something after he started in last position. But here we are, SLR Morgan is the driver who is dictating the restart. When is he going to go? It looks like he's trying to go now. It looks like he's trying to go early. Is he going to catch anyone out? Well, I think he has. I think he's timed that restart absolutely perfectly. He's already gapped SLR Lear by a second. That's further down the field. McLaughlin made a move on Preds before the line, I think, so actually going to be investigated as now Preds and Moley going side by side through turn 1. Moley giving him enough room, so it's all one and clean. But yeah, Morgan has timed that restart absolutely brilliantly and already has a 2-second lead over SLR Lear. So Morgan absolutely charging here, and he's gunning for that race victory. As Charlie made the move up the inside of Lear. Is he going to make the move stick? Yellow flag is set to 1. Someone's lost it. I think that's Predators. But now Charlie and Lear battling side by side. And this is going to cause Morgan to get the gap that he needs. The gap's 2.8 seconds already. He's absolutely bolted at the front as SLR Morgan. As now Charlie and Lear is actually fighting over P2 now. Lear does still have the technical advantage over Morgan. But Morgan seems a lot quicker at this stage of the race. As Adrian got past Golden Egg Fryer and all that as well. Wow, I mean, you can kind of tell who's been running dry setups, who's been running wet ones. By who's going to be struggling quite a bit on the straights of these dry tyres. But wow. SLR Morgan absolutely bolted. But SLR Lear is almost in his penalty window. And there we are, fastest lap of the race for SLR Morgan, 129.8, absolutely flying. As now McLaughlin is making the move on Golden Egg Fryer, although he's getting his elbows out is the AlphaTauri driver. But in the end that's to back out, McLaughlin moving his way through very, very nicely, as this is now the final lap of the race. And it does look pretty good for SLR Morgan to claim the race victory, despite being, of course, denied that pole position by a 5-place grid penalty. And then having that 3-second time penalty and only 2 laps to make the gap. He has managed to make the gap, and at the moment, SLR Morgan is going to be a race winner, but there's not very many corners to go yet. He's going through the very, very tricky slow chicane at the end of Sector 2 is Morgan. Very, very cautious is the Mercedes driver. He's navigated it well. Gained an awful lot of time on Leah. Oh, I think that might be it. I'm going to double check his penalties. It is 3 seconds. So this is, barring any mistakes in the final corner, this is going to be a race victory for SLR Morgan. Crossing the line now, the Mercedes driver. He was second in Imola. He wins in Miami. A great performance there from SLR Morgan. SLR Leah and SLR Charlie round off the podium. There's absolute chaos in the midfield, as I can see positions chopping and changing all over the place. As Adrian, it was Adrian that lost it. That was it. Adrian, unfortunately for him, had a bit of a moment, and he's now lost any chance of a point. Yeah, Leah and Charlie on the podium with Morgan. Janie Menz recovers from last to finish 4th. McLaughlin recovers to 5th after that incorrect strategy choice at the end, and then Golden Egg Fryer gets P6, getting a solid point. So SLR Mash, I think, in there also got some points as well. It's a pretty good result for him, considering he switched to wheel at the start of the season. But yeah, what a drive that was from SLR Morgan, and what a final couple of laps from him. He managed to get the gap, and he secured the race victory. Definitely the class of the field was SLR Morgan today. As yeah, the other points finishers were SLR Moni in P7, Bad Otter in P8, ARL Predators in P9. Of course, there could be some potential incidents that go to the stewards, but which could change some of the positions. But SLR Morgan, through all of that, is your race victor. Absolutely gassed it on that safety car restart and has won this race. Followed by Leah and Charlie, your 2 podium finishers. And yeah, please get in your driver of the day in the chat. I'm personally going to give it to Morgan myself because of that final couple of laps mainly. But of course, a big shout out to ARL Predators as well for... Well, no, a big shout out to JD Menz as well, I should say, because JD Menz started last and ended up finishing 4th. So a very strong race from him, for sure. And Leah also with a strong drive as well in P2. Could you tick your boxes, please, gentlemen? Should be a box in the chat for you all to tick. And then I'll start off with the interviews. Thank you for joining quickly. It makes all of this a lot easier. As with how long the race is, I'm sure we're all going to want to go home as soon as possible, even though we're obviously all in our houses. Someone's got an echo. Anyway. I think that's you with an echo, Charlie. It probably is. Usually is. But yeah, on to our P3 finisher first of all is SLR Charlie. So, yeah, pole position in the dry. Looked like you perhaps didn't have the confidence that you wanted in the wet weather conditions, but you kept your nose relatively clean despite a couple of moments. Didn't lose your wing at all and came home in a very decent P3 position. So how do you feel about that race?
It's a bit underwhelming, to be fair. I feel in the dry I was pretty quick around that track, but right at the end I didn't have enough laps to maybe have a proper go at Leah. But yeah, in the wet, like when we first loaded into the lobby and saw it was wet, I was gutted because I thought I had a proper chance this race. But yeah, it is what it is. When we all pitted for dries, for some reason it let Leah out in front of me, even though I went into the pits before Leah. So that kind of messed it up, and then obviously with me and Leah battling the last couple of laps, that allowed Morgan to just shoot off. So unless I got past Leah, P3 was going to be the best I get. So it's another podium, I guess, but could have been better.
Yeah, it could have been better, but you are back on the podium, I believe, for the first time since Miami. So how does it feel to kind of your luck somewhat has turned around? Obviously, you're a bit annoyed at the pit lane issue at the end of the race, which caused you to get behind Leah. But you got to be happy that you've returned to the podium after a few, let's say, less than favourable races.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back up here. To be fair, I'm a bit, like I say, I'm underwhelmed with P3, but at the same time, I'm happy just because I expected to bin it about 3 times in the wet. Like, there were so many people quicker than me, but I just managed to get a little bit more traction at the last corner to just stay in front. But there were a couple of times where, like the long left, where I had to go at Leah on the last couple of laps, that corner there, I just completely lost the rear end, and I think I think Andrew and Leah through. But it's a learning curve in the wet. I think it's a lot harder on this game than the last, but like I say, I'm still happy to be on the podium.
Yes, good result for yourself.
Thanks.
Now on to SLR Leah. Well, that's a very strong result from you in P2. How do you feel though that, of course, Morgan had that penalty, but then managed to pull the gap at the end? Are you a little bit disappointed in P2, or are you happy considering your race to end up on the podium just in any capacity in Division 2 after your promotion at the end of last season?
Yeah, I did bottle that bit. I think like the first lap, after it was wet all race, like I was still a bit tentative in that first sector. And the first sector was my weak point the whole race. So yeah, a bit gutted to let him get away, but I mean, I didn't expect to have a podium this race or sort of any race this season, so I'll definitely take it.
Yeah. So talk us through your race a little bit. We saw you had a couple of moments yourself in it, but in the end managed to be clean when it mattered. Stayed mostly in the top 5 or 6 all race. I noticed. But yeah, like, how do you feel your drive was itself? Like, how did you find the wet weather conditions?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like I say, the first sector was a weak point. Everyone seemed to catch up with me on that. Well, the first little section, just the first sector altogether, and then I think I had I didn't have too much wings because I just forgot to change it completely. So it was quite fast. My car was quite fast in a straight line. Yeah, and then I hit the wall in that little tight bit, and then I lost it a bit, and I thought that was it then. But then obviously when the safety car came out on the dries, and I think obviously Charlie's old team mechanics wanted to get me out quicker, so they did that, and then yeah, we battled it to the end, and then yeah, thankfully just held on.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that podium finish. Thanks, and now on to our race winner, Morgan. Well, perhaps got a bit unlucky. I'm not entirely sure what happened in qualifying to give you that grid penalty, given that you obviously stuck it on pole before that. But then in the race, really, other than of course that time penalty, it looked like a very, very strong race from you. How do you feel that you managed to pull that gap at the end, firstly, to get the victory? And then second, how do you feel just your race overall and claiming the victory?
Wasn't expecting to get the gap, to be honest. As soon as I pulled the 3 second in the first, on the lap 28, I was like, I just need another lap like last, and I should have it. And then yeah, and then qualifying, I just got really frustrated because I got an unlucky penalty from a car that was stranded in the track, and I went to go around it, and I scraped the harvest light like the tiniest of bits, and it gave me a 5 minute grid penalty, which I was really annoyed. So obviously I stuck it on pole. The pace in the wet wasn't as good as the top 3, so it was just managing it and then trying to string it out to the dry, which I did. Just bring it home and try and get as better place as I did.
Yeah, and you most definitely did get as good a place as you did. P1 and of course fastest lap as well. So I believe you also got a podium at Imola last week as well. So
yeah.
Looks like you got some decent pace as well. So how are you looking to translate that forward to the next few rounds? Are you confident for the remaining part of the season? Not very many races have gone, obviously, and you've got back-to-back podiums there. Of course, that race win. So yeah, how do you feel?
Spain I'd like, so I'm hoping for another good result in Spain, but I'm not expecting anything much from Monaco. I'm confident throughout the rest of the season then after Monaco. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, yeah, congratulations on your race victory anyway. And I think that's what we've got time for. So yeah, what an unpredictable, interesting race. And in the end, it is SLR Morgan who is your victor. Please join us again tomorrow at 6 PM for Division 3. And yeah, and then for the rest of the weekend. Have a good weekend, everyone. Should be a good weekend, because actual Formula 1 is back, of course. And yeah, thank you for watching, and good night.